My name is Pam, and I'm the founder of Dragonfly360. It is my honor today to introduce someone who deserves no introduction, Adan Mechai, who most people know as Mr. Condom. But personally, I feel very honored for him to be here because he has really made an impact on Thailand and how we think of sex and sex education in general. And he continues to do so with the school that he's built and family planning. So without further ado, I will leave Cindy, who is our education director for Dragonfly, to have this very interesting short conversation. And we are also very honored to have 5 of his students here today with us. Khun Mechai students. Thank you.
Thank you. I have not come on my own today. I've come with the next generation because I'm nearly off the top of the hill, to the bottom of the hill. So we have the new generation to introduce themselves to you. They come from a school in Buriram where nearly all of them come off the buffalo's backs, but they can become very outstanding citizens. Most important of all is that they respect other people. They have absolute belief in gender equality. They believe that a man must be able to do everything that a woman can do. And I have grown up in an atmosphere of more than gender equality, sort of gender superiority. Both my parents are doctors. They graduated from Edinburgh University. My mother's Scottish, father Thai. And I think everybody knows that my mother was smarter. I knew, my father knew, and he was very happy. And anyone who knows me also knows that my wife is smarter than me. So that makes 2 of us. So the issue of gender equality needs a real explosion to get going. And I think that I would like to propose today, as we go along, that these and the others at the Bamboo School will be the pioneer to help you going. You need somebody in the field to work and get issues going, the issues that you would like to see and what they would like to see. So this is the issue. Now, I've been known in Thailand and around the world as Mr. Condom. Today, I think I'll be known as Mr. Sanitary Napkins. and they are very at ease with sex. Let me ask you before we begin, if you would allow me. So please raise your hands. When is your birthday? Who was born in January? Okay. Who was born in March? June? August? All right. Now you know when you were born. My question is, when were you made? What month?
January.
How can there be sex education if you're not about it? Because the best way is that to remind yourself of minus 9 months, difficult. What you do is add 3. I was born in January, so February, March, April. My father and mother had sex in April. That's how I was born. It was probably Songkran, that's my guess. So we tell the kids in the school, thank goodness for sex. Because of sex that you were born. The world is a much better place because of you, because of sex. So therefore, you must understand it. All life forms on earth are born with an inherent interest, compulsory interest in sex, not by choice. They're afraid we will be extinct. Every aspect, including humans. So let's understand it. But also, you understand the limits. A match can light a fire and cook rice. A match can light a fire and burn the house down also. Same thing. So remember that. So it's important to educate the students, the children, not to keep them ignorant. By keeping them ignorant, we see what we see today, where Thailand is losing so much because we've not been able to use the women in our society and I've seen many. Now, as I go along, I'll be happy to explain. So I'll ask these students to introduce themselves. Let me try.
Hello, my name is Vira. I am in grade 9. I come from Cambodia. I have been in the school for 4 years.
Good afternoon. My name is Sai. I'm grade 12. I'm student from Mechai Bamboo School. I come from Nakhon Ratchasima province, and I have been in school for 6 years. The school taught me to have empathy, to help others, running a business, and to have skill to look after myself, and teach me to ask questions and to be rational. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim. I studying at Bamboo School. I study in grade 10. I come from Kanchanaburi. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Namtip. I come from Nan province. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Zhao Zhan. I come from Mae Hong Son province. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for that lovely introduction and giving us just a glimpse into your lifetime of work, Khun Mechai. For those of you who know or may not know, you have done so much in the terms of really changing attitudes. And from my brief experience in the field of advocacy, this is not an easy thing to do. Getting people to, first of all, listen to what you have to say, take in your message, and ultimately understand and maybe change their attitudes. And so today's talk is breaking taboos, right? There's so many taboos in our society, whether it be talking about sex, whether it be using condoms, whether it be talking about menstruation and women's cycles from puberty all the way to menopause, talking about teenage pregnancy, talking about all these things. And so we're going to get to all of those, but first I just wanted to touch base with you a little bit about how you started, your work, your earlier work in terms of really bringing awareness to the use of condoms. And that back then it was to mitigate the effects of HIV and also unwanted pregnancies. Is that correct? So can you tell us a little bit more about your earlier work?
My early work of the century, not the last century, was when I was in the government, in the National Economic Social Development Board. I was also a lecturer at university. Huh? And is that better now? Yes. And at university, Thammasat University, also teaching, and National Economic Development Board as an economist. And a group of us at the university realized that the population growth was too fast, and we needed to slow down. And we had evidence, and we proposed to the Prime Minister, and he said, no, we don't need to do that, we need to be a superpower. That was Field Marshal Tanom Kitekajon. And we also had another field marshal as deputy prime minister, Prapat Jarusatian. So in those days we had a lot of field marshals. Nowadays they're a bit more hard to find. But we've got lots of generals, as many generals as we have gasoline tanks. And so he said that you must go back and study more with the university. So we did that 5 more years. And each time the professors asked me to be the one to explain to the Prime Minister, because I was in his office, I was about 27. And I was totally dispensable. So I explained, and he said, young man, you have to go back and keep on doing it. And when the 6th time came, I realized that I had the wrong partner. The university was not the right partner to make changes. So I decided to look for somebody who would. And that was in the media. Mom Ratchawong Kukrit Pramod, who was the editor of the Siam Rat, and who later became Prime Minister. I went to see him and explained, and he said, good, I found some money. We had a seminar in Chiang Mai at the university for 2 days. And after that, the media wrote everything, television, radio, on population issues. And within 6 months, the government changed the policy. So that shows that you have to have the right allies, not just one group. So that I changed many allies, included more, not ignored others. And so then the government said, all right, we now have a policy, but no budget. And then budget only for Ministry of Health. And I understood that the issues of family planning had a lot to do with very personal matters. And you needed people to talk to other people, to be open about it and to be frank and to be honest. You needed other people to be involved. So that's when I left the government and started a new project by writing a proposal and got funding from $250,000 from this is about 50 years ago, from the International Planned Parenthood Federation, and started a project which later became known as the community-based distribution of contraceptives, getting shopkeepers as voted by the villagers that they trusted to provide information, pills and condoms. It was not free, but if you couldn't pay, you could do community service or tree planting and you can get it. You can do good deeds, because good deeds must be regarded equally good as money. So that's when we began 50 years ago. And so nobody was denied. That went on and on. But then the problem was that we had a doctor to prescribe the pill. By law, we had a doctor to prescribe the pill. We had one doctor per 110,000 women. We had to do everything, including other jobs. This proved impossible, so we got nurses and midwives trained. That worked extremely well nationwide, but that covered only 20% of the villages. And then what do we do after that? So I asked the villagers, who would you like to be your representative? And all of them almost said, we want the shopkeeper. So the shopkeeper was selected and trained, and they had pills and condoms available. And as it turned out that they did this for the last 50 years, and then they became known as the village health volunteer. It's in the book Pai Nok, written by the permanent secretary, that was the beginning of a national change that became accepted. It was the first country in the world. But you can understand that it didn't come easily. You had to walk uphill, but not complain about it, enjoy it, but walk uphill. So that's the first one. In the end, we had from 7 children down to under 2 children. And so people have been saying that I'm to blame to have so many old people walking around. So I'm getting at both ends. I'm prepared to help at the far end also, if they would let me. And then HIV came to Thailand in the early 80s. People didn't know about it, and young people were falling dead in the north. There were funerals everywhere. There was no cure. And I tried very hard to get funds. We got it from Rockefeller. And we got companies to help provide tapes, videotapes, and cassette tapes, explaining it. And I went to the government, said, I would like this to be used to educate the people. And the minister in charge of broadcasting, he's a policeman, very famous policeman called Chalerm Yubamrung. And he said, no, we cannot have anything on AIDS on media. It will drive away tourism. which of course was a fallacy. So I knew that, he's a minister, I can't very well go and fight with him. I didn't have the time to, another 5 years. So I came up with who would be a better alternative. And that was the Commander-in-Chief of the Army, General Chawalit at the time. So I went to explain to him, said that we have X percentage of people infected now. Of the North, of men of age, military recruitment age, 15% already infected. The Northeast, so and so and so, and Central. And he got quite a fright. He said, how can I help? He said, we'd like to borrow your radio stations, 300 radio stations from the military and 2 television networks. And so we used that and started doing it. And then soon after that, Khun Panyarachun became Prime Minister and regarded as a very good Prime Minister. And he asked me to join his cabinet. And I was asked to be in charge of broadcasting, Office of the Prime Minister, tourism and others. And I asked that he become the chairman of the National AIDS Committee because it's too big for the doctor, too big for the Ministry of Health. It needs the top man, and he agreed. And so everyone was included, and the budget for AIDS education was increased 40-fold. So everyone was involved, even in judges in court had to explain about AIDS to people. And so we had, in universities, we train university students to go back to their school to teach younger brothers and sisters, and then the secondary schools to teach primary schools, and then primary schools to go to every household and to give an AIDS information and a packet to every household. So that was the level of seriousness. And we had many other things. But as a whole, that it worked. In 12 years, the UN said that after 12 years of work, many governments, that the number of new infections declined by 90%. No other country had done it, but because everyone joined in. Second one, the World Bank said that during this time, 7.7 million Thais had been prevented from dying. Can you imagine if we did nothing? We would lose the whole of northern Thailand, and all because of some stupid policeman. And we had to use everything, we gave out condoms in traffic. We had a project called Cops and Rubbers, where policemen give out condoms in traffic. And at all toll booths, gave out condoms, bus stops, in every area. And we had Captain Condom, who went to schools and also to the bars to make it relax. So everyone was given a chance to educate. So that's how we did it. We had to do it because the alternative was death in days. And so some people said to me, they didn't approve, said, Khun Mechai, what you're doing is destroying the morality of the next generation. I said, well, you decide. When your child is 22 or 23, there will be 2 possible events, both with flowers. You decide. The first one is at the graduation of your child, there'll be flowers. Second one, also flowers, at the funeral of your child. You decide. So that was serious. So that's how it all began. So it's so serious, and those were the things that we started doing it. So condoms were given out all over the place, and we say the condom is clean if your mind is not dirty. So it began very, very strongly. He said, if you don't understand sex, you're going to be dead. So that's what happened.
And since then, you've been working tirelessly in this field. It's turned into many other projects, namely the Bamboo School, which we will get to. But you touched a little bit about how, people are worried about talking about condoms or HIV is going to affect the morality of our nation. And so I really want to ask you, what is it that makes Thai society, and indeed Asian and in some places all over the world, so hesitant to talk about something that is so natural? I mean, like you said, we come from sex, it's part of our natural bodies, yet why is it so intertwined, and why is it such a taboo to even talk about very normal things?
So basically it's the silence from society and the darkness of society. There's no light on it. People don't understand it, so how can they explain it? They don't understand it. The parents don't understand it. So that's why we have to go to the parents. And we have noticed what we've been doing. In our school, we have our students doing sex education in other schools. We work with about 140 schools, and the kids are very good at explaining it. And there was one school quite recently that the teacher said, oh, and we give condoms, and they have condoms here too. You notice their shoes, black is clean, very polished all the time. Probably the shiniest, the cleanest shoes in all girls in Thailand. We use condoms. So if you're wearing black shoes or leather shoes, come forward and they'll clean it for you. And then you'll not stop the condoms anymore. So anyway, we had to come up with an alternative use and use humor. The first we did was humor. I remember in front of 500 teachers, I pulled out the IUD, silence, and the injectable, the pill. And then when I pulled out the condom, there's some giggle. I said, I'm onto something. I didn't know what. So I started opening it up. And the first idea, I said, oh, it's perfume. Fantastic. You can use it. And you can also, there's a cream, you can use it for aftershave lotion. And then you can use it as a balloon. And then you can put it on top of a gun for snake, a gun to stop the sand. And you could use a sauna cake for snake bites and deep cuts. And then you can put a mobile telephone in it. And nowadays you can put it around your telephone with a little branch for a selfie. So all these things made people realize that it can't all be that dirty. Again, humor was very, very important. And when people laugh with you, it's difficult, very difficult to be angry at you. Because I didn't come from a point of dirt. I came from a point of sort of innocence and laughter. And that helped a lot. So humor, I think, is a very, very important issue. And we just kept on going. And the children, and we had daycare centers in Bangkok because I saw some buildings going up, big buildings, and the children of the builders, construction workers, were running around, nails in their feet, no place. So we said, okay, we opened one of our own buildings in Site 12, and we said, okay, we're bringing the kids in for several years. So they came, we had teaching and food, and we had condoms for them to play around with. And American television came and saw these kids playing condoms. You know, the toy was the condom, and they liked it. So these were the things that we tried to demonstrate, but it's difficult to do it by just straightforward talking. You've got to have issues that make people laugh, and that's what we did. We made them laugh.
I agree with you about using humor. I think that's definitely a wonderful way to just get people to listen to what you have to say. Similarly to yours, although I've again started much later, I have a campaign called Don't Tell Me How to Dress, and it addresses sexual harassment and sexual assault. And we talk about things that are not talked about. And when I started the campaign, it was almost like I opened the door and so many women joined in with the hashtag Don't Tell Me How to Dress, where you stop blaming a woman's clothes for her sexual assault. And so I wonder if that's perhaps one of the reasons is that there's an understanding or something about the patriarchal society where women are taught not to talk about these things. There's a whole generation of us that were never really taught by our parents, by our mothers specifically, about what's going to happen at puberty and how you're going to be able to handle these things. And so is there something in the culture that perhaps makes it this way, in that we in Thai there's a saying called chi prong hai kalok, whereas if you talk about sex, you're pointing the squirrel to the hole. Like, this is what there's an understanding that if you talk about sex, you're going to teach them how to do sex and they're going to go out and have sex, when we know that that's not the case. If their young people have education and they have the right information, they're able to have more informed decisions. So I just wanted a little bit more of your insight into, is it culture, is it generations?
Well, basically, it's persistence. You must not give up. It cannot be a one-shot effort. It must be continued. You can wear them down. You will wear them down. I remember I wore the press down too. I wore the Prime Minister down too, because they have other things to do, and I did not insult them. So don't insult them, but just keep on going and going and going. They can't insult you, but they get bored and they give up. So persistence is very, very important. And I see nowadays, goes through children. We're now working with at least 140 schools, whereby our students and train their students in the Matayom, the Matayom Ply, and then down to junior Matayom, and then down to the primary, about these issues. You say, half the world has this, and the other half of the world has that. Are we right or are we wrong? Now, where do you belong? Do you belong to this half or that half? And then we explain, okay, you start young, and then after a certain age, these things happen. Look at yourself. And they begin to say, yes, it's true. Especially as they get older, they look back when they were younger, and they see you're talking the truth. And what we're trying to do is to let you understand how humans work, how life works, and how to manage your own future. Because if you don't know how to manage it, that's the end. And we also ask them to come up. We come up with 4 types of animals. Which ones do you think have more sex than others? 1, elephant. 2, gorilla. 3, rabbits. 4, chicken. And 5, honey possum in Australia. And they all break into groups. And some say definitely the gorilla. And so we say, all right, elephant, once every 5 years. I said, oh my gosh, I don't want to be an elephant. And then gorilla, 4 years. Yeah? And then down to the chicken and so on. And then finally to the honey possum. Why the rabbit often is because they get eaten. But the honey possum in Australia is the most delicious meat on earth. Everyone wants to eat it. Not the humans, but the animals. They want to eat it. So they have to keep on breeding all the time to keep up with the demand. Just like a factory not being able to produce enough. So they have to breed all the time until, and this of course, have a good laugh, the size of the male organ is 5% of the body weight. And if it's a human being, it's the size of a rugby ball. Yeah? So again, you can bring in humor, but honesty and so on. So let them understand that this is the truth. Why don't elephants have to have sex so often? Because there's nobody eating the elephant. There's nobody eating the gorilla, of course, until the humans came along. And this goes on to explain, so that they can understand it. So these are the things to keep it scientific and clean. And we always say, go home. Firstly, you must know when you were born, we all do, when you were made, and then go home to your parents, say, thank you very much for making me. And if they ask you, what do you mean by that? Then explain about sex. Your parents may not know. But again, it's very open, very generous, and children are very, very good. And I think the way to it is children. And I would like to propose, if all of you here are interested, to set up a partnership with our school to get it going in the areas of gender equality. We want to work to be the first tambon, 16 Muban. One tambon is about 9,000 people, where no woman has to buy sanitary napkins. Because as somebody said that, oh, you have to pay tax. But why do you, okay, you don't pay tax, but you still have to pay for the produce. Why don't we have the men do something? So the women don't have to pay until one day that we find out something. Start off. And then this will make huge news all over every village. We'll send a representative to come. And then we'll push the government to move on more. So if you're interested, and of course we can work with some, you can provide some money, we could work with some sanitary napkin companies and even import them as a gift. Get Lufthansa to fly in a whole container. Well, these are the things you have to lay out a plan, and so it's demonstrable. So here's the school kids explaining all of it. When adults come, the children explain very, 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 very clearly. And I think this is one way. That's just one issue. The other one, if you would like to, we want to have a sort of a gender. The first one is let there in every village have appointed honorary assistant village heads that are women of different ages, 7 days a week. So, and you follow up, and their job is to create understanding and a future for women. So we train them in areas of environment, in areas of photography, in whatever areas, in areas of health, not just the government. They are the ones who can do it. And so that's an example. They can also do in terms of helping elderly. We want to have a food and income security with elderly people. We're doing it now because of COVID. A lot of families are not having enough food because the money is not coming in. One thing that I was shocked to find out was that in our Tambon of Kok Lang, with about 9,000 people, 80% of children aged 13 downwards are living with grandparents. 80%. Can you imagine that? So in other words, you can say that 80% of these women, Thai women, are being denied the human right of being a mother. There's no argument of that, but nobody looks at that way because the other issues. So this is another one. And you can also say that the child, these children are being denied the human right of having a mother because they're poor. So those are the things. And then the reason why the parents disappeared, they have 6 million kids that I call temporary orphans. The reason is that the parents, when they were at school, learned nothing in school about how to do business, how to grow vegetables, so they have to migrate and sell labor in a factory and send money home. So what we're doing in many of these schools, we hope to go nationwide, is to let them understand how to do business, how to grow vegetables, many sorts of vegetables, very high return vegetables, and then to learn how to borrow money. We have a loan fund for the school and a loan fund for the parents to get out of poverty. And then we use the school as a platform for creating change in the villages, go through the school. There are 32,000 schools, all with building, with land. If you want to do everything through school, so in other words, gender superiority, let's call it that, must go through the school. Get every girl in the school to say, hey, I have a future. My type has made this country, and my type's going to make it more. And so they can have a role. So in the school, they have a role. In the villages, they have a role. So if you're interested in trying it out, I'd be very happy to work with you, and you will be the first group. The other one I was looking at was the Melinda Gates. So I think you're local. Why don't we begin? If you're interested. And so the children can be involved, and then your children and other children in Bangkok can come and see how it's done, how they can be involved. And they can go to the schools in Bangkok and say, hey, why don't we do this? In other words, the other issue I think is very, very important, why we don't have the sorts of people that you would like to see, is because we do not train them in empathy. Not sympathy, empathy. That's the feeling of understanding and goodwill for people who have disparity and issues of bodies. For instance, if they're deaf, or hearing impairment, or they're in a wheelchair. So in our school, we train them on empathy. Every student must sit in a wheelchair for 1 day per month to learn what it's like to be in a wheelchair. And then to realize, my gosh, those people are quite something. We must get to know them. And then we get them to look into the web and see how other two countries live. And they come back and they're shocked that Thailand is totally hopeless. Totally hopeless. Why? Well, the government doesn't seem to care very much. So they said, we must do something. So they said, now we have wheelchair. We also have our vegetables. So let's combine the two and make it wheelchair vegetables. So grade 10 students design a special wheelchair vegetable farm, not the UN, to do this. And so now we're doing with other schools, like Si Sangwan, the King's Mother School, where they grow vegetables. So this is just an example, doing kids through empathy. And the other one is that there are 400,000 deaf people. And we know nothing about them. I can speak other language, I cannot speak their language. So we bring them in to teach us. sign language. And after that, then we train them how to grow vegetables and so on. And we try to get money from the outside to start this. There are 21 of these schools for the deaf. We've done the first one. And then we also train them how to grow vegetables, and then they in turn train elderly people how to grow vegetables for their food security. We provide a fund for them. So that's what children who are deaf are training. They're becoming development workers, turn the tables around. And now they're producing tissue culture with a laboratory, which is normally done at university, now in the school for the deaf. This is just an example. Also, children in wheelchairs are training people who can walk, elderly people, on vegetables. So we're turning the table around, and then on every Saturday in our school, we do not eat dinner. Not because of religious reasons, but we want you to know what hunger is like. You cannot learn about hunger from a book, from a lecture. You have to learn from being hungry, and then you know those people who are hungry in the villages feel like you. So stop. So these are the things, it's actual practice. And we have many things that help the students help to run the school. In most secondary schools, you don't learn anything about it. You just go to school, class, and then go home and play the telephone. But here, they're involved in managing the school. Every week, there's a student government meeting. They must approve everything that goes on, and they do all the buying. Nothing is bought by teachers. Vehicles, food, paper, cars, motorcycles, and so on. Even air tickets. They have to do everything, because you need to learn that in life. And in new students coming, they are interviewed by existing students. Teachers want a job, they are also interviewed by the students. And this discipline is done, and they have 11 committees that handle the key issues of management of the school, of repair work and environment and so on. So, no janitors, they clean up their own mess. So these are things that can be done, and I think that if you would like to come and take a look, we have very good accommodation, including hot water and air conditioning. And if you want to go on a cheap, we have 4 to a room with 4 bathrooms. So there we are. We give you the luxury. But these are the things that's real, and you can see there's some hope that here's an area as far away from civilization as one can imagine, with only 6 buffaloes walking by each day, that the school can be like that. Because it's a very simple principle, and there are people enough who are helping us with some funding to keep it going. And it's these types of people. We've now had 7 that have graduated to university and other things that have kept it alive. And recently the Senate Committee on Poverty came, and education said that schools in Thailand should be like this. And also the National Defense College said the schools in Thailand must be like this.
Ah.
So it's not luxury, but it uses bamboo to build.
Wow.
Why bamboo? Because bamboo is the fastest growing tree in the world. It can grow anywhere. And we like our people to be like that too. And if you cut it within 4.5 years, it's the same size again. You can use it for many things, including food, bamboo shoots, building, and also you can make water from the bamboo. So all of these things, we say that's why we do it. And it's natural. We're not using it as other materials. But it's not difficult. I don't have the money to be able to build more schools. I have to go around begging already. But the issue is that others see that this should be the type of school, and I'll be happy to send to you. If you just leave a list behind, I'll be happy to send a list of, and there's some that is in there already. I have 4 or 5 documents that you can keep, but it's possible. And I think what you're taking a look at, gender equality, gender superiority, this can very easily be done there. If you want to try it out, please come to the Bamboo School. Not only to get them to do it, but also get them to work with you to get changes going on. So they will be your partner to work.
The new generation, definitely. I mean, it sounds so obvious. It sounds so simple that these are the things that we need to be teaching our young people. Very simple things like respect, empathy. But for some reason, when, it's on the grand scale, it's not as easy. But you are creating a model, definitely in terms of gender equality. I just want to hear a little bit from the students themselves อยากจะให้แชร์นิดนึงนะคะสำหรับน้องๆที่เรียนที่โรงเรียนเนี่ยการที่เราเห็นที่โรงเรียนของเราความเท่าเทียมระหว่างผู้หญิงกับผู้ชายกับสังคมโดยรวมแล้วมีความแตกต่างมากน้อยแค่ไหนคะ
สวัสดีค่ะชื่อทรายค่ะอยู่ชั้นม .6 ค่ะซึ่งที่โรงเรียนค่ะก็จะส่งเสริมความเสมอภาคอย่างที่ผอ.ได้บอกไปค่ะแล้วก็ที่โรงเรียนนะคะก็จะมีทั้งธุรกิจการปั้นโอ่งการทำเกษตรหรือว่าทำกิจกรรมต่างๆค่ะผู้หญิงก็สามารถทำได้เหมือนกับผู้ชายค่ะทั้งในเรื่องของปั้นโอ่งค่ะธุรกิจการปั้นโอ่งก็จะค่อนข้างใช้แรงเยอะค่ะผู้หญิงก็สามารถไปทำได้ไม่ได้แบ่งว่าต้องเป็นผู้ชายทำเท่านั้นค่ะในเรื่องของงานที่ใช้แรงเช่นการทำเกษตรในโรงเรียนค่ะผู้หญิงกับผู้ชายก็มีหน้าที่เท่าเทียมกันค่ะแล้วก็ไม่ใช่แค่ว่าผู้หญิงทำได้เหมือนผู้ชายแต่ว่าเรื่องของการจับผ้าหรือว่างานต่างๆที่ปราณีตค่ะผู้ชายในโรงเรียนก็สามารถทำได้เหมือนกันค่ะซึ่งพอได้เห็นออกไปข้างนอกค่ะประธานในโรงเรียนอื่นๆก็อาจจะเป็นผู้ชายซะส่วนใหญ่ซึ่งในที่โรงเรียนตอนนี้เป็นผู้หญิงมาค่อนข้างหลายรุ่นเหมือนกันค่ะแล้วก็เรื่องของผู้ใหญ่บ้านนะคะก็มีเพียงแค่ 12% ของประเทศไทยที่เป็นผู้หญิงค่ะแล้วก็ที่เหลือที่เป็นผู้ช่วยผู้ใหญ่บ้านที่เป็นคนประสบความสำเร็จหรือว่าทำงานในด้านต่างๆที่จะเยอะกว่าผู้ใหญ่บ้านก็จะเป็นผู้หญิงทั้งหมดนะคะ
She's talking about just the general work at the school, even tasks that are traditionally male tasks like using physical labor, growing plants or pan ong, how you say, the big giant water jars. Women are able to do that, or even needlework. The boys are involved in that. So it's defying stereotypes, it's breaking biases, it's defying taboos on a very practical level in a rural setting. And so this is definitely something that is food for thought for the rest of us, that we can incorporate into our own families as well. What advice do you have for us who have children in terms of perhaps putting it into practice in our lives in terms of, breaking taboos or defying these stereotypes for, that could perhaps, maybe not as well as you're doing with these kids, but perhaps instill a more respectful generation to come?
Most definitely that people notice if you go to the school and you walk past a group and you pass them again and again and again, every time they will why. It's not once, never. If it's 5 times, it's 5 times. Everyone notices that our students are very polite. Because by being polite, you're telling them you're a polite person. That's good. It's a compliment to you, not an obligation. So these are the things. And we always let them to thank people, always thank people. So when people give them something, they'll always write a letter to thank them, or anyone who gives them books or thing. And the other thing that we are now going to start is, we did it before called a village toy library. We would like families with lots of toys, with kids who don't use them anymore, including international schools, to put them together, and we will put them into villages, establish the students to help run a library, but the other students to use the toy. They borrow the toy, but they must pick up plastic to come and exchange, to use the toy for 1 week. So the village is totally clean. We've done it before. We would like to do it again. But again, we must say that, get the girls to run the business. So every day you look, everywhere you look, it's female, female, female. It will sink in. And see, we will improve the village with the 5 or 7 honorary village heads. And we will ask the villagers, have things improved in your village? I'm more than sure they will say yes, in this and this and this and this area. And we will ask them why did it occur? They will say, because of these women. Said, okay, next time elect them to be village head. So we're not just going to do it to build up our conscience, but we're going to change, have more women as village head.
Definitely, representation is key. When girls see a positive role model doing things that they are then emboldened to do the same thing. Bringing it back to kind of our theme of this event, Khun Mechai, in terms of breaking taboos, specifically around menstruation, around using sanitary pads. I mean, even today in places like Japan, if you go to buy sanitary pads, they'll put it in a paper bag. Or in India and some countries, women are considered dirty at that time of the month, untouchable even, banished from the house every month for a period of days. Do you feel that that is still a taboo in Thailand? And like you even touched on the tax on sanitary napkins when it is very much a necessity. How do you feel we can move away? What you did to condoms, what can we do to sanitary napkins?
I definitely feel not enough is known and not enough is taught. We need to do more to explain. Young kids, in fact, at the school we're planning to work others to have a stomach, a pregnancy bag for about 7 months to put on, a male too, for 1 day. So you know what it feels like. You put a few stones inside, that's what it feels like. So that's just one. At least you will one day experience it, the boys will not, but they will experience this. And then we'll explain them openly. Let the boys explain, when does menstruation occur? Why does it occur? What does it say? You know? And we'll get every boy in class should pass the test. No, through exam. This is on humanity. We don't have an exam on that? Come on. You fail otherwise. You know, this is biology or whatever you want to call it. Let it explain that, you know, where does it come from? Where does the blood come from? You know, and so we just say that I use a boy to stand in front of a class to represent the ovary. Stand like that. Yeah? Yeah? Ovary said, on 1 month the eggs come from this end, another month the eggs come from this end. And it gets hit at the corner. And the egg meets the sperm. And it comes in. And then everybody's waiting, like trying to catch a ball. And when the egg comes in, it catches it. It stays there and it starts growing, the egg. And then it becomes a baby. But if not, doesn't mix. It waits and waits and waits, just goes by, and all the waiting is thrown out. And that's when the little fibers become blood. So that, that's how. And what does having a period mean? It means that you can now have a baby. Said, okay, you can now have a baby. And the other one we have tried at school, we want to do again. If you want to work with us in any way, we're happy. Is the girls that are pregnant. Today we have 180 หรือว่าต่อเดือนเท่าไหร่นะผู้หญิงเด็ก 8 girls, they know better than me, under 15 are pregnant every day, despite whatever is going on. So you can multiply that by 360. And it goes on and on and on, up different ages, but coming down to there. Why is this happening? Because they don't understand. They've never been taught. The parents are, oh no, we must teach them, all that rubbish. So this is a very clear example. That's why the government now has come out, Ministry of Health, with a regulation of any girl age 15 can get the pill and condoms. Oh boy. Legal. Now it's changed a lot. And also abortion is now legal. There's just some difficulty if you are underage, but right now it's okay. If you want to, for instance, the Planned Parenthood Association of Thailand provides menstrual termination, pregnancy termination. At our office in Sukhumvit Soi, we also help. Any young school girl or whatever, we have from Myanmar also, because where else can they go? So these are the things we want to cast to the school. So at our school, we have some condoms given to us, and we're going to say, if you want condoms, send to us. We're not going to sell. You help to pay the mailing costs. And they brought some today to pass out. I don't have to send any mailing costs. And so that you get to know it. And then just help to pay for the postage. อยู่ไหนตอนนี้
What about the,
อ่าฮะ
oh, they've got them in the
เอามา
pockets.
แค่นี้เหรอ เอามาอีกนิดนะเดิน girls please walk around หยิบไปคนละกำแล้วแจก
Khun Mechai, what about the
Maybe it's the first time in their lives they've been given condom. So here's changing of life. ไปสาวๆไปแจกเลย
In terms of the comprehensive sexuality education in public schools right now, though, is that something that we still need to address?
It absolutely needs to be done. The subject is there, they agree, but it's very weak. It's just like a chili, a hot chili. It's not very hot. So this needs to be done. So if you want to work with us, we can go to certain schools, school for the underprivileged, school for the deaf. Oh, we now have courses on sex education for the deaf. We have to come up with new hand language for sex. Fascinating. We didn't know that before.
So I think we've talked at length about all the different projects that Khun Mechai has started, and it's fascinating. I'm sure we can go on for much, much longer. Anybody who wants to go and see in practice, you're more than welcome to contact Khun Mechai and go to have a visit to the Bamboo School as well. But I'd like to just open the floor up to anybody who has a question, whether it be on our topic, which is breaking taboo, whether it be perhaps something along the lines of gender equality. Please raise your hands if you have a question, and we'll get a mic over to you.
Hello and Sawadee-kap. My name is Milks. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here, and also your student over here. It's very inspiring to hear directly from you about how important it is to have that equality. And my question would be slightly more of the aftermath of that, where I do browse through Tinder dating apps nowadays, and what I notice also just there's a lot of single mom out there, and it's surprisingly around more than 60% single mom, and more like my question about how is it just lacking of responsibility from the other side, from the male side, and how would we as a society approach this, especially like this is like the aftermath of not aware of this sex education, the importance of knowing that I'm gonna get someone pregnant. So how do what would be the best way to tackle all this situation where the other side actually, really letting go of that responsibility, and then this is where equality, that the question is. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Since I'm not in that position myself, it would be a fallacy for me to give full answer, but I think what would be good is to get together with certain types of people, especially the single moms. I said, do they want the man? They might say, oh my God, no, I don't want another man. No, let's get together with them and learn from what they say, what they do. That I think will help a lot, and we can move towards it. Perhaps they would like communal living. That could also be another possibility where several, 5, 6 single moms can live together. Another angle, but you need to talk to them first, rather than act like the government and say, do this, do this, do this. We'll say, hey, how do you think this can be done? That's one. The other one I'd like to just mention to you is that, as we said, that there are 6 million children living with grandparents. What we're trying to start off in our area is, we call it the Homeward Bound project, to go for 3 families in each village to find out, in the opinion of others, which families, which 3 are most likely to want to come home. And then we will go to them with their children and say, we would like you to come home and live with your parents and your children, and we have a project, a loan fund, and you can grow all these vegetables, and the school will buy all of them. Because we have 32,000 schools at the moment. They have a budget of 32 billion baht for school lunches, and they can use that money to buy vegetables from elderly people. You can get the elderly people out of poverty. You can get all these families that come back from Bangkok to be able to stay home, and can be done. The issue is that they're not thinking about it. The issue is that not ทำไม่ได้ but ไม่ได้ทำ. So this is another possibility that we want to look at as a way of solving the issues and the problem. And I think that the issue of a lot of the single moms, let's just take a look at what are some alternatives that they would like to propose to us. I think this would be a fascinating issue to look into. I will most definitely look into this. Thank you.
Anyone else has questions?
คุณเพิ่งมีไอ้นั่นให้ดูหน่อยไหม scholarship.
Hello. Hi, very nice to meet you, very humble to meet you. I want to ask a question regarding the taboo of condoms and sex in Thailand. From your point of view, how is it a taboo really in Thailand? For instance, if we compare with other countries, like for instance Philippines, that is a Catholic country. My perception is that maybe, I thought that maybe in Thailand is not such a taboo. So I wanted to ask you, maybe if you compare it with other countries in Southeast Asia, how is it a taboo in Thailand, or maybe how it changes in cities like in Bangkok versus in rural areas?
Mm-hmm. When I began the family planning program about some 50 years ago, I knew the issue of the Christian group in the Philippines. The Catholic Church was very anti. So I asked some Buddhist monks here and they had no answer. So I went to some university professors to go into the Buddhist scriptures and see what did Buddha say about issues related to family planning. And so many positive ones. Births cause suffering. If you prevent birth, you prevent suffering. So we use that as an emblem. We send it throughout the country. And then one day, a monk in villagers asked me when I was in the village, said, could you please, they thought I was a doctor. I said, doctor, could you please get the monk to bless the holy water on pills and condoms for the sanctity of the family? And I thought, what a great idea. So I went to the monk called at Sapatum, Wat Sapatum, Wat Sapatum, and explained to him that the villagers said that they would like a monk to sprinkle holy water on pills and condoms. He said, yeah, I'll do it next Sunday. So I got ready and he came along and I have some photo of sprinkling holy water on pills and condoms. Now that was not anticipated. That was a bonus. And I also work with over 300,000 rural school teachers to explain family planning, to introduce the new family planning alphabet, B for birth, C for condom, I for IUD, V for vasectomy. Now we also had a family planning song and a snakes and ladders game on a pakama where you throw dice. Anything bad, you come back again. Mother takes the pill every night, very good mother, move ahead. Uncle buys condom, very good uncle. Uncle gets drunk, let's use condom, come back, start again. All those things. Again, introducing what we would like to call edutainment in it. So in terms of Christianity was in the Philippines, and they've had a hard time with it. And so when Buddhism came in, we were lucky.
Cities versus, is it much more a taboo outside Bangkok versus Bangkok?
Sorry?
The subject?
In Thailand? No, it's very normal now. Very normal now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Oh, microphone.
I have a question, but I'm going to ask in Thai, and Cindy,
Yes.
would you translate for me? Okay. ในสังคมเมืองไทยวันนี้นะคะ ปัญหาเด็กที่บอกว่าอยู่กับปู่ย่าตายาย ส่วนใหญ่แล้วน่าจะเกิดจากพ่อแม่เนี่ยแยกกันนะคะ แล้วสาเหตุใหญ่ที่เกิดจากที่พ่อแม่แยกกันเนี่ยก็เพราะว่าไม่ซื่อสัตย์ต่อกัน แต่ที่บางคนเริ่มพูดว่ามันเริ่มเป็นนอร์มในประเทศไทยแล้วที่ถ้าผู้ชายมีกิ๊กหรือว่านอกใจภรรยาอย่างเงี้ยคือพอกลายเป็นนอร์มมันหมายถึงว่า somewhat acceptable อะค่ะมันมีความเป็นไปได้เลยไหมคะที่เราจะเปลี่ยนความคิดในสังคมไทยไม่ให้ยอมรับสิ่งนี้หรืออย่างน้อยเนี่ยเราไม่ต้องการให้ผู้หญิงมารู้สึกว่าโอเค we can get even we gonna do the same อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะเพราะว่ามันไม่ดีต่อครอบครัวแล้วลูกๆปัญหาที่ตามมา
จริงด้วยครับจริงด้วย the question is very simple that the issues of children living with grandparents is often brought about by the separation of father and mother, husband and wife, due for many reasons that are not very well found. So can we do something about this in terms of the morality that when the male has more partners, and yes, of course, something can be done, but to what extent, how serious, can you believe the government if they do it? So maybe we should have a smaller movement and start doing it. And definitely it should be, but we should take a look where to start. I definitely think the school is a very good start. So ask them, would you like your father to have a mistress? Ask the kid. If he says yes, then we're in trouble. So these are things, I think the school is the best place to start. เดี๋ยวจะถามหน่อยว่านั่นเราก็บอกแล้วนะว่าเรื่องบางทีที่เด็กไม่ได้อยู่กับพ่อแม่เพราะว่าพ่อแม่แยกกันใช่ไหมแล้วก็มันก็ไม่ดีตอนนี้บางทีแยกกันเพราะว่าตัวผู้ชายไปมีกิ๊กไปอยู่นอกใจเนี่ยตอนนี้วิธีแก้ได้ไหมแล้วจะทำยังไงดี
ค่ะสำหรับหนูคิดว่าเรื่องนี้ก็อาจจะเป็นเรื่องที่เกิดขึ้นได้ค่ะแต่ว่าถ้ามันถามว่ามันดีไหมมันก็ไม่ดีค่ะเพราะว่าจะทำให้เด็กที่เราเป็นลูกนี่ค่ะความที่เราเป็นลูกแล้วเหมือนว่าเห็นว่าพ่อแม่แยกทางกันนี้ค่ะเราก็ไม่มีความสุขไปด้วยค่ะหนูคิดว่าเรื่องนี้ควรแก้ปัญหาตรงที่ว่าอาจจะเป็นที่ผู้ชายหรือว่าผู้หญิงค่ะใครเป็นคนนอกใจอย่างนี้ค่ะแล้วก็อาจจะให้ว่าเหมือนไม่อยากให้มันเกิดขึ้นค่ะหนูก็ไม่อยากให้มันเกิดขึ้นเหมือนกันค่ะเพราะว่าถ้าพ่อแม่หนูแยกทางกันอย่างนี้ค่ะแล้วหนูผู้ที่เป็นลูกหนูก็จะอยู่แบบไม่มีความสุขแต่ถามว่าหนูสามารถเรียนรู้ที่จะอยู่ด้วยตนเองได้ค่ะในเมื่อถ้าเราเป็นแม่เลี้ยงเดี่ยวอย่างนี้ค่ะหนูคิดว่าเราสามารถเลี้ยงลูกของหนูได้ค่ะแล้วก็หนูจะให้ลูกของหนูเติบโตเป็นบุคคลที่ดีแล้วก็มีคุณภาพค่ะ
เยี่ยมเลยคิดว่าเชิญค่ะได้ค่ะ
สำหรับหนูค่ะหนูรู้สึกว่าระหว่างพ่อกับแม่ค่ะเราไม่สามารถบังคับได้ว่าจะให้อยู่ด้วยกันไปตลอดหรือว่าอาจจะอยู่ด้วยกันสักแป๊บหนึ่งแล้วก็แยกทางกันค่ะแต่หนูรู้สึกว่าสิ่งที่สำคัญคือการเลี้ยงดูของคนที่อยู่ใกล้ตัวแล้วก็สังคมรอบๆเขาว่าจะให้ความอบอุ่นกับเขาได้ขนาดไหนซึ่งถ้าถูกสอนมาในทางที่ดีก็จะเป็นคนดีไม่ใช่ว่าคนที่พ่อแม่หย่าร้างกันก็จะกลายเป็นคนที่ไม่ดีทั้งหมดอะค่ะหนูรู้สึกว่าขึ้นอยู่กับการถูกเลี้ยงดูมาแล้วก็การอบรมอะค่ะ
นี่แหละซินดี้ว่าเป็นกุญแจสำคัญเรื่องของการเลี้ยงดูเรื่องของการให้การศึกษาที่ถูกต้องและก็แน่นอนเรื่องของการปูบรรทัดฐานใหม่ของความเท่าเทียมทางเพศว่าไม่ใช่ว่าเพศไหนมีค่ามากกว่านะคะแล้วก็เรื่องของgender norm gender stereotype คงจะเป็นเรื่องที่เราคงยังต้องพูดถึงอีกนานเลยล่ะเพราะว่ามันมาจากรุ่นสู่รุ่นมันเป็นการปรับ mindset แต่นี่ก็จะเป็นความหวังของประเทศนะคะในเรื่องของการที่เราสามารถสืบต่อความคิดแบบนี้ just talking about to answer her question about the gender norms gender stereotypes in some cases how perhaps the men feel entitled to or able to put the burden on the single mom as you mentioned and so these are issues that anyone working in gender equality is quite familiar with. It's going to take some time. It's a generational issue as well. And so, any more questions?
I have a question that I'm from Thailand, but I lived in San Francisco and New York through great education that my parents gave me. And I was able to see that in other countries, it was the first time I saw a sex shop living in New York and in San Francisco. And when I moved back, I realized that Thailand was one of the 8, I think the last 8 countries that sex shops and sex toys, owning it, buying it, or possessing it can put you in jail for 3 years. So it's one of the last countries, and is there anything that we could do as a collective if the law doesn't change to push the needle forward? Is there anything, do you have any thoughts on that? คือเรื่องเซ็กช็อปที่มันผิดกฎหมายในเมืองไทยอะค่ะเป็นหนึ่งในประเทศสุดท้าย
หนูรู้สึกว่ามันไม่ใช่เรื่องที่ผิดค่ะแล้วก็ทุกคนค่ะมนุษย์หรือว่าสิ่งมีชีวิตต่างๆค่ะถูกสร้างขึ้นมาเพื่อให้สนใจเรื่องเพศเพื่อที่จะสืบทอดเผ่าพันธุ์ตัวเองต่อไปแล้วหนูก็รู้สึกว่าถ้าเป็นเรื่องของเซ็กทอยค่ะมันไม่ใช่เรื่องที่ผิดแล้วก็เหมือนถ้าเรามีมีดแล้วก็ไม่ใช่ว่าเราจะเอาไปฆ่าคนแล้วก็เอาไปทำอย่างอื่นได้ไงค่ะมันสำหรับหนูคิดว่าไม่ใช่เรื่องที่ผิดค่ะ
เห็นด้วยค่ะ
พาไม่มีคำถามแต่ว่าเมื่อกี้นี้อาจารย์มีชัยพูดถึงว่าการที่ใช้ humor ที่จะมา address issue วันนี้ก็เลยอยากขออนุญาต1 นาทีที่จะโชว์วิดีโอที่ Dragonfly ทำไว้เกี่ยวกับเรื่อง period นะคะ Can you turn it on เรื่องประจำเดือนนะคะเดี๋ยวขอเดี๋ยวนั้น Anyone else have a question in the meantime as you're trying to sort this out? It's not coming up. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Sebastian. I really admire what you're doing with the school in Buriram, because I personally also believe to, solve issues on this planet, we need to transcend our consciousness from a way of competition, scarcity, to move into a sentiment of sharing and abundance. But the problem I see is, with your approach, it's very a grassroots approach, and it's beautiful. You're going into the communities and teaching all these important life skills. At the same time, we still have the official side of it, the schools from the government, and the whole system that has been put in place all this time until now. So do you see any conflict arising between, this grassroots approach coming from the people and the government trying to hold on to the old ways?
I'm more encouraged now because we have now the National Defense College as well as the Sathapan Papok Institute, and then the Senate Committee Chairman and Deputy Chairman on Poverty Eradication and Education said that schools in Thailand must be like the Bamboo School. They said all of this. So I think that they can push it to more. And one of the things that I'm putting, and they have seen it, is to use the school lunch program, the money that's already there, to use some of it to buy vegetable from elderly people so that 15 million elderly people can have food security without any extra money from the government. Because when they see that, they'll be much more encouraged that here is a type of education reform bringing goodness to elderly people and income generation. From what I feel comfortable, but I hope I live long enough to see it come to fruition. We don't know. Thank you.
Yeah. Are we ready? Yep. I'll give this back to you.
This is a rope. What is this? I don't know. It sounds like a bad word. I don't know why. I don't know. Personal manslaughter. Period. 1 liter. Trying for liters. No, it's basically puberty. So like, it's just a natural thing. I'm a boy. I don't have periods. We get erections. I think that's stupid. It's not fair to the women.
Can I have the right to a copy of that? I want to use it in all the schools, 140 schools, use in English classes. So it's compulsory.
Yes, I think yes, we have an adult one too. So that's just something that we did for another, trying to get kids to start talking about this at an earlier age.
Can we also do one in Thai?
Yes.
One in Cambodian, one by Hill Tribe, or Karen, and
We
one
have
by
a lot
Hmong,
more work to
one by
do.
Hmong. No, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, no,
You mean
this
the
is
subtitles?
excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
We'll use new faces and get the title
ได้เลยค่ะ
for Thai kids.
ได้เลยค่ะ
No, this is good. And this should also to go to parents and say, hey, the kids know more than you. We should also have one with grandfathers and parents to let them see that, my gosh. Yeah?
ค่ะ
Ah.
I think there's something you want to share at the end ค่ะเดี๋ยวก่อนนะคะ wait รอ
Just this is about the condom. Just a small part that goes on. ก็อะไรon ไป TikTok หรืออะไรนะ It's on TikTok. It says what you can use it with the condom. One is 5 is balloon. So these are the condoms. You notice it's all girls. You notice it's all girls spreading, no boys.
ถุงยางอนามัยทำอะไรได้บ้างถุงยางอนามัยทำอะไรได้บ้าง 1 ขัดรองเท้า 2 เซลฟี่ 3 ยางมัดผม 2 ข้าง 4 กันน้ำ 5 ลูกโป่ง
Put it on speaker. I said I can't hear you, so you need to speak up. Put that shit on stereo, everyone.
That's an example of humor and new platform, which is taking the world by storm, TikTok.
เรื่องใกล้ตัวที่คุณอาจจะยังไม่รู้
พาร์ท 1
Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
There's another one that they're going to do is that the students are now helping to organize scholarships for 11 students who are deaf to go to Mahidol University. They borrowed from the bank, but they have to find the funds to repay the bank. The money is already, the students are now at university already. Altogether, it's 1.6 million baht, done by students, instead of just getting other people to get the new generation to start doing this. So they're the ones receiving it. Anyone giving money can get 200% tax deduction. So it's the first time secondary school students are trying to find funds to send tertiary students to university. Again, it's a whole new approach. And it's the girls sending the girls. Way ahead of the boys.
Amazing. This is another way that everyone can help. Also, if there's any of you want to have more information, we have a sign-up sheet. Tulaya is holding it up here. After the end of this talk, please put your name, information, your email, if you want to visit the Bamboo School, if you want to contribute in any way, or just get more information. And I believe there are some books here as well, Khun Mechai. So definitely, we're going to wrap up this session, but Khun Mechai and his students are still here, so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to come forward. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for our keynote speaker, the students at Bamboo School. ขอบคุณนะคะน้องๆ
Thank you.
ขอบคุณมากค่ะ